Are you ready to learn what red flags keep an eye out for when looking for love?
Then we got you covered. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Alex.
And this is the podcast where we unpack reality TV and call out the bullshit.
So that you show up confidently while dating and in relationships. Welcome to Ditch the Script.
I love it.
Hi, friends.
Hey!
Hi!
Isn't it liberating to go do those first 30 seconds like muted? Like absolutely.
Yes, and because of habit, I was holding my breath and not
I know.
for the first couple, and then I was like, wait, I'm muted, I can like breathe.
I don't
and
have
I
to
was
do
like,
that.
oh my God. And then it was a vibe.
Yeah, a vibe. Like I just started screaming towards the end, which I might have actually unmuted myself while I did this, but I went, yeah.
Oh, I heard you. It was great. And then I was like, well, because I didn't know you didn't mute yourself. So I was like, wait, maybe she's muted on Riverside, but I can still hear her. I don't know. It was weird.
Nope. It should be a 360 mute. It should be, but it wasn't.
Oh, good.
Hopefully that keeps hopefully that doesn't F up our sound. But okay, you know what? We're rolling with it. Here we are.
We're rolling. What's up? Anything fun?
I
feel like you were gonna ask me, but then I put you on the spot, and now here we are. Let's go.
Well, it's tough to answer the anything fun because you and I just had like a very deep chat,
intense hour long.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, I was gonna. I don't have anything fun to share. I was gonna ask how the collective we are, like the you and me.
Yeah.
How are we doing? I feel pretty good.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I got my stitches out of my back the other day.
Oh my God.
And so we are healing. I will say, girl, I was so naive. I've never had stitches before. Granted, this was kind of a bit because I had internal stitches and then external stitches, and it was 4 external stitches, and it's on a place where I can't really see in my back. So it's been like really interesting trying to navigate it all. But it is a healing process. Like that wound is still very much a wound and looks gross. And so we're going, but I'm just really thankful that the stitches are out and now it's just full steam ahead, skin cells coming back together, and then we'll do scar treatment and we're done.
Don't you love when skin cells do that? They come back together.
I love it. Yeah.
They're just constantly in motion towards one another.
I know.
And that's kind of fucking beautiful.
It is. Our cells are so cool because we don't have to tell them to do. They just do it. They're like, we got you. We're on it.
Yeah. You know what? I really appreciate something in my life that's like taking care of their job. Like they're doing their job.
Yeah. Without me having to ask or nag.
Yeah. 100%. That's
we'll take that into this relationship conversation.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like if you've ever thought to yourself like, wow, no one else does a single thing around here. Just remember your cells and how hard they're working.
Your cells work damn hard. Oh my God. Yeah. Leave it to us to have such a nerdy, dorky intro. But yeah, that's exciting.
That's how healing works. I'm happy for you. I know.
Me
too. This is low-key a really big deal, so I am genuinely really happy for you.
Yeah. That thing, and if anyone wants a photo of what I'm talking, like they removed a 10-year-old cyst out of my back, and when I saw I made the doc take a photo of it, and it looks like something out of the Upside Down, like with how, it was just so gross. So if anyone wants a photo of it, hit me up. I've already sent it to quite a few people on Instagram, but...
Yeah. If you are a person who is watching cable television, and Dr. Pimple Popper, all of the surgery, wasn't there like a Boca Miami? There was a South Florida plastic surgery reality show.
Yep.
If that was something that you felt drawn to, I strongly encourage you to reach out to Alex on Instagram. If you want permission to access, she will send it to you. She lives to please everyone.
I live to please everyone, including them. But I also, when I posted this the day that I got it removed, I was like, I also want to respect everyone's boundaries who's grossed out by this. So you have to, so I made people DM me for it instead of me just posting it to my story. Because like I personally, when I'm flipping through stories and something like that pops up, I'm like, you scarred me for life.
Oh, yeah, there needs to be a content warning. And I actually like that you took it a step further, which was like, I'm actually not going to just post this on the next slide. I'm like, you have to ask me if you want.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't ask you this actually though. Did people request access?
So many. One of the most engagement things, like from a business standpoint. Yeah, 100%. I was
up.
So many people were like, I'm into this. I watch Dr. Pimple Popper all the time. Oh my God, I'm a nurse. This is not like, send it over. Oh yeah, that is gross. And a lot of them were like, that is gross. That's pretty big. That was in your back for 10 years. And it was like, yeah. So what it looks like is the cyst, because it wouldn't like, what's the word? Drain itself externally. It would just grow internally more and more and more. So there's like pockets of like nasty shit you can see.
Like other,
Oh, bro. But anyway, it's out of my back and now I just have a bump and it's slowly going down. But yeah, I can move. It's great.
She can dance.
I don't feel like Frankenstein anymore. Yeah.
That stiff life was never for you. It was never going to be you.
No.
I don't really know how to transition away from cyst surgery to cyst excision to Love is Blind, but I just think that we're going to do it.
We're going to do it. And like, I think a good question is, would we ever be on this show?
Yes. Okay. Yes. My answer is yes. My short answer is yes. What's your answer?
Same. Short answer is yes. Okay. And I'm interested to know who the fuck I would pick. Or like what conversations I would have.
With this lot, I don't know. I wonder maybe what could have happened if you don't see yourself like connecting with any of the people who continue to be featured on the show, which have made matches, then I wonder, because that's how I feel personally, I wonder if we would connect with some of the other people that didn't find matches and therefore are not on the show. Possibly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally.
Okay, but do you have anyone that you would have connected with, just with what's available?
Not from what I've seen so far. I think that Andrew intrigues me, but I don't know if I'd be able, because you know me, like if you've been listening to a podcast for a while, you know that I'm really playful and dorky and nerdy. And like what I think is fascinating about Andrew is his depth, but I don't know how playful he would get with me. So I'm kind of like I'm intrigued by him, but I don't think I would pick him. But that's really the only person where I've been like, so far, where I've been like, ooh, that's fascinating. I would want to talk more about that. But yeah, that's really short list. We got a real short list over here.
Well, and I want to take this opportunity to speak to anyone who's listening to remind you that we have only watched the first 2 episodes of Love is Blind season 3. We've really only just gotten the introduction to everyone that's starting to connect, how they're connecting and how they've navigated the like whatever we've gotten to see from the pod experience so far. So there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot of buzz out there about a lot of things that happen. So like these are our initial first impressions of everyone. So be in this part of the journey with us.
Yeah. I think Brennan is really sweet, although I hated that cowboy hat. So this is where the Love is Blind experiment is great, because guaranteed if I saw Brennan wearing that first day outfit in a room, I would not have approached him, wouldn't have spoken to him. So the pod would have worked for him, with me at least, because I would have obviously had a convo despite the hat. And then if I did fall in love with him, then I probably would have been like, okay, I can live with the hat, you know? But that's why I'm not going to lie. Like, that's why I kind of love this show. And I didn't watch season 2. I did watch season 1, but I think that that's exactly the point, is like, because of our own thin slicing, right? Which, like, if you haven't, what's that book by Malcolm Gladwell? Blink.
Outliers. Oh, Blink.
Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. Outliers is probably amazing too. I haven't read that one, but
it's amazing.
Blink he talks about thin slicing and how like in 0.7 seconds or something crazy, we've already made up our minds just by like our own prejudice, just judgments. And that's exactly the point that I just illustrated, is like, I see this guy, I see him wearing this cowboy hat. My brain goes, oh, you're probably this, and that. So I'm going to steer clear of you. When for all I know, that could be my person. So it's just like, that's why I'm fascinated by this show. But I think that some people's limiting beliefs and also bad habits of dating still show up in this show. And I'm just like, 100%. Yeah. So I'm excited to dig into it with you. But short answer, yeah, I would go. I would be curious to see what my experience would be and who I'd pick.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but my immediate thought when thinking about like, would I go on the show? The answer is yes. But my next thought goes, and I would do so well.
Yeah.
My immediate thought goes, yeah, I the reason why I think that I would do really well is because I live for a deep chat, a deep, long, uninterrupted chat. I get myself into trouble in IRL dates by hanging out for too long because we're like talking about stuff for too long that you almost end up feigning intimacy that doesn't really exist. And then like you go away from each other and you're like, did I just meet the love of my life? And then you're like, nope, they haven't texted me back ever. So like, I think like I probably feel like I would have connected with a lot of people, but I wonder if I would have felt connected to people. I think I would have had a bunch of people being like, you're great, let's play a game. I just also love that. Like, I want to play games. I want to both have a yoga ball on either side and like a plate of sushi, and let's just see what the fuck happens. The silent disco.
Loved that.
Yes. However, silent disco without a room of other people, kind of silly.
Interesting. I think what would be fascinating with the silent disco is like, it's more like music sharing in my mind. Like, this is the kind of shit I listen to. What do you like? Like, love that, hate that. Yeah, totally. That. So that's how I would have tried to use it, but I'm also not quite sure like how much power they had over, I don't know, music choice or what.
Yeah. Another personal question I have for you. Yeah, is if you had the responsibility to like plan your own date on Love is Blind in a pod. So what is your idea of a date that you would love to plan for a person that you're connecting with in the pods? What would you like to do?
Shit. There's so many things that come up. Of course, the practitioner side of me is like, well, I want to go deep. So I don't know. There's a part of me that's like that card game that you sent me that I have.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of really good questions on there. So I would probably want to dig into stuff like that. Like, you know, if you were a superhero, what kind of superhero would you be? Like, so little questions like that all the way into like, what's the biggest relationship lesson you've learned this far? Yeah, so kind of like a question and answer game. And then there's also a part of me that's like, draw a photo of your inner child. And I think that would be really fun to like kind of do and describe. Or, you know what would be
and to see who's down for it.
Exactly, to see who's down for it. And it would be really funny. There was a part of me where when one of the couples was like playing some kind of game, but I thought they were going to try and draw what they thought the other person looked like. And I was like, that would kind of be funny too.
That's really cool, actually.
You know? That isn't what they ended up doing, but that's what I thought they were going to do. And so now that you're asking me this question, maybe that would be fun too.
I love that. Those all sound kind of fun. You sound like a hoot to date.
What about you? What would you do?
There would definitely be a date where we're just like chatting about like, we're deep diving, uncovering the family stuff. I want to know everything. I may or may not be building a genogram, drawing a genogram on the other side. Like I may be doing that. Just for memory's sake. Like I need a visual so I like the memory sticks. There would also be a date where we are playing a game. The game that Alex was referring to is this game called We're Not Really Strangers, or it's by the brand We're Not Really Strangers, and it's a card game. It's not really a card game. It's a question game. And you ask each other questions. Though. It's so good. It's fun. And like some people are afraid of it, which I understand, and I want to respect their boundaries, but also like...
Let's get real. Yeah.
And then my third date would be a bit more silent, and we would just be music sharing, like outside of the silent disco kind of tone, and more just like we had access to play music on both pods at the same time. And then I'd love to like share like a song and then we could like talk about it and be like, did you like that? Do you know that? Oh, I would love to like pull a song from my childhood and see if they knew it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. 100.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Love is Blind, if you're looking for season 4 people, we will do it, but we also need to be able to podcast from the pods, I think.
Yeah.
Which is great exposure for you.
Great exposure, like built-in ads. Built-in ads.
Built-in ads.
And like, it really is like conscious relationship conversations.
It's forced. It's forced.
It's forced.
But I don't think people know what to do with it. And we see that. Yeah. We see that show up in a few people here where it's like they very much there's a perfect example of a woman continuing to lead with her sexuality, even though the guy can't even see her. And I'm like, baby, this doesn't work. Put it down. So I'm excited to like kind of dig into some of the good that we saw and some of the like, this is a bad habit and we need to get away from this.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Super stoked.
Okay. Let's do it. I'm going to we can't really like pair people off and talk about specific couples.
Right.
So where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start by saying Nick and Vanessa Lachey again? For real? Like,
what do you mean? This is like their show.
I don't remember them from Love is Blind season 1. So that's
They're
on
in
me.
all of them.
I'm so sad. And because like, I knew they were there for Ultimatum.
Yes, the Ultimatum is their sister
newer show.
Yeah, it's their test show. It's like the one that they made with like the babies. Like I guess there's some pretty young people on the show too, but this tends to trend like a little older.
That's where I want to start is like these two again. And look, I get it. When we're picking hosts of a show, we want hosts that are sexy and good looking and obviously know what they're doing. But like, I feel like when they position themselves as like, we're the couple that you want to become, it's like, but I don't want to become you.
Oh my God. Yes. Be more neutral. Like be personal, but like be more neutral. Stop talking to me about your relationship and you're fighting and you're not fighting. And then like you like dating other people. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't care.
So anyway, that was literally my first note. So when you're like, where do you want to start? I was like, I'll start at the top.
The beginning.
Yeah. The other thing that I do want to say that is on the topic of the host / overall message is what's up with these shows wanting to rush everyone down the aisle as if that is the purpose of a relationship solely. I am really bothered by that. You know, it's like
a mistake.
Yeah, it's like you have to propose before you can even see each other, and then you see each other, and then you're going to get married, and then you get to say for real if you're actually going to get married or not to this person. And it's like, why can't we just be on a show and be like, I really like you and want to get to know you? And like, then we get to see each other, and then if we make it through the next couple weeks, then we propose. Can we like be normal? Can we be normal? No, we can't.
No, they won't let us be normal. They won't let us be free. It also reinforces the like, even if you're feeling the person that you're connecting with on the pod in this very heterosexual like scenario, like the women have to wait to be proposed to. It's like, if you're feeling someone, what if I wanted to propose to one of these dudes? What if I was like, Matt, will you marry me? Like, like, try and stop me. I might do it.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, fuck gender norms. It's stupid. Okay, so now we'll get into the tea. I think we could just like kind of talk about the different people that we're meeting and give like our 2 cents on how we feel they're handling this, and then we can kind of dive into the connections we do see sort of forming and the engagements we have seen so far.
I love it. 2 people that we kind of meet off the bat. Nancy Bartise.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Bartise, I feel, so he's 25 and he's very aware that he's 25, and there's definitely a part of him that's acknowledging like, I'm young and I feel like people are going to judge me for that. But from what I've seen from him so far, he seems pretty damn emotionally mature and open-minded and communicative.
Yep.
And yeah, what about you?
I think sometimes he shows his age a little, just in like, maybe it's just vocabulary and it's just like, responding to some situations, but generally I think he's doing a really great job. Like, it's funny that Bartise ended up being the person that two separate women had like confided in about something that they were not insecure about. That wouldn't be fair to assume that they felt that way, but that they felt like was going to be difficult news to take. And one woman, Raven, was like, I'm a bartender and I'm like a shot girl in some area. Not a shot girl, like, yeah, I guess so. Something like that.
Bottle service,
Bottle service, thank you. And then the other girl was like, I've been an egg donor and I've donated like close to 100 eggs. Like, like there's a lot of like people that have my eggs. And so I think Bartise handled those conversations. I mean, it's tough to show because in the way that they edit, they really want to build up tension as if like he might like boof it and like
delayed
really fumble the bag.
Yeah,
exactly. But I think he like was totally receptive and maybe sexualized it a little, like the bottle service thing a little, but I'm not going to fault him for that. And then the other thing that makes me think that he's quite emotionally intelligent is just his own risk taking and being vulnerable about his own stories and sharing that with other people. And then also kind of being feeling a little bit interested, feeling a little caught off when he realized that the other person on the other end wasn't really like listening in the same way that he was like sharing.
Yeah.
I don't know if we really want to get into that just yet, but like those are the things I noticed about Bartise.
Yeah. Yeah. So, first of all, I want to talk about the Raven bottle service conversation with Bartise because I know you mentioned you felt Bartise sexualized it a little bit, and I also felt that Raven did not do him any favors by setting him up in that way. Here's why. I feel like when she expressed, I do things in the service industry that some men will have an issue with. When I heard that, I thought, okay, is she a stripper? Does she do porn? Like, OnlyFans? Like, what is it? My mind went there with him. And he asked, he's like, so what, do you strip? And she was like, no. Like I bartend and I do bottle service. And I immediately was like, girl, if someone is going to hold that against you or act like that's you, that's the equivalent of something that's like an industry that men have an issue with, you're dating the wrong men. Like, being a bartender and a bottle service girl, like, sure, you have to look cute, your boobs, you might wear your push-up bra or, like, whatever, but you're not there, right, you're in flirting, but it's not, like, it's not to the extent, like, I've had bottle service with a bunch of men around, and I did not see much flirting going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is, but it's not, like, crossing boundaries outside of that. So I just wanted to say for women out there who may do line of work that's similar to Raven, where there's a part of her that feels a little bit of, I don't know, not shame, but like defensiveness around communicating that. Ladies, if they cannot respect what you do, to make the extra cash, and they're going to position it as if like it's low-key cheating, run. Like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate how Bartise was like, that's not going to be a problem, Yeah.
I think that it's very clear that she dealt with it in that sort of apprehensive tone because people must have given her a really hard time about it.
And that's my point. And I'm like, girl, let's get rid of that. Cause like, that's more of a reflection of them.
That's their shit.
Reaction.
It's their shit.
Exactly. It's not you. And so I felt bad for Raven having to like try and like tiptoe around that. And it came out in a way that made Bartise's mind go and mine too, way towards more of the sexual industry. Yeah. And in the end, it wasn't a big deal, but it's like, this is what I say to my clients who are like, how do I know if someone's the right fit for me? It's like, be you from the get-go, because you are going to be polarizing. The people who aren't meant for you are going to run away, and the people who are will come towards you. So it's like, we need to, and this is something I'm learning with my business, which you and I have been talking about personally this week. So it's the same situation for all aspects of life. So I just feel for Raven that like that clearly came out in her past and wasn't received well. And now she's apprehensive about, how do I do this the right way this time? It's like, girl, there is no right way to deliver that. Just rip the Band-Aid off. And if they don't react well, that's their issue, especially with something that's bartending and bottle service. Like, on the scale of things,
Listen, I'm going to send a message to men. You got to get over it. You got to get over it. Please get over it. Figure out your insecurities. They are valid, and go deal with them away
For real.
from your working partner. who's bringing in cash, honey.
I feel like the flip of this is like men who may be personal trainers who work with women and get to stare at women's asses all day in yoga pants. It's like, how would you feel? Like, you're doing a job, you love your job, the exposure you have to certain people of the opposite sex, again, talking in heterosexual norms here, just want to like, but fill in the gender blanks, if you will, for what's applicable to you. It's like, that, what if a partner was like, well, I don't want you working with female clients anymore? It's like, what? No, like, this is my job. This is how, exactly, this is how I make my money. And if that person is insecure that being in an environment where you're going to have clients of, you know, the gender that you're attracted to, you need to trust your partner past that, you know? Okay, so moving on.
Go to therapy.
For real.
Okay.
Nancy is the egg donor.
Nancy. Yeah.
And my thing with Nancy is I feel, and she's calling herself out on this. She's like, I have my list. This isn't, and I get it. I get it. She has her list. These are the boxes that you need to check on my list. And she was really feeling Bartiste, and then he tells her age, and she has like a low key like.
She gets kind of yeah.
She gets caught up on that. Yeah, where it's like, what would have happened with her mindset if she didn't know his age? I would have liked to see that. What if you weren't allowed to disclose your age on this show either?
I'd be falling in love with someone who's probably pretty young, and that it'd spook me. I feel for her because it's scary. I think it comes from a place of, I know that I want this part of my life. For her, it was like marriage, family, children, the whole nine. And I think sometimes it is scary to let yourself fall in love with someone who you do personally connect with that might, like, at the end be like, yes, I love you. I'm not ready. I want to do other things. And it's like, the fuck? I am ready. I'm ready. So, like, I can't, and it's just tough. We don't have a lot of time as women with our biological clocks. It's our eggs. She already donated so many.
I know.
I don't know if she froze some, which hopefully maybe she did. Like, we're talking a different story, but I don't know.
It's one of these things where, like, that's societal, and I get that, but that's up to Bartiste to like the 25-year-old or the younger person in this scenario to speak that. Like, I'm not ready. I want this instead. Yes. I want to play. I want to spend more time doing this. I don't even want to have kids till I'm 30. So that means she would be whatever age she would be. Like, that's on him to bring up, because I do think that there are men and people out there who are 25, 24, and because of whether it's the way they were raised or the environment that they're in, not only like home life, but also maybe city, society. Country. Yeah, they are ready, you know? I have a client who's 32 dating a 24-year-old man, and they are so happy. They've almost been together for a year. But before she went on a first date with him, her first question was, should I even consider this guy? Because he's 8 years younger than me, or whatever the math was. And I was like, you tell me. You tell me. And she's like, my question is always like, if he ends up being a wonderful person who treats you better than you've ever been treated before, and you give up because
missing out on that. Yep.
Right. And so it's like, you know, obviously, like, their relationship is their relationship, but I'm just trying to draw the parallel where it can work. It depends on the people entering in the relationship, and it requires the honest conversations. Now, mimicking, let's look at what Bartiste, who's 25, and Nancy and their conversations versus like what we just unpacked with Johnny and Victoria on Bachelor in Paradise. Johnny's also 25. My issue is Johnny, to the camera and in his confessionals, was so open about, like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready. But meanwhile, telling Victoria, like, you know, towards the end, he finally told her, like, I'm not going to pretend to be ready. But then look what he did. It's like, it's so, he couldn't make up his own mind. And for me, that was more of a reflection of Johnny not being ready than it was of anything to doing with Victoria. So I just think that, like, there are men who are out there at that age who know what they want, who could be amazing fathers because they're ready, you know, depending on their own life experience. It just requires honesty. So what we're gonna now need to find out is Bartiste being honest.
Yeah, and I think it's not just honesty about the people who know that they're ready. Like, yes, do that and, like, lead with it. You will be hard pressed to find women who are not excited about the idea of a man like looking for a family. Like there's plenty of women and plenty of people who know that they don't want to have kids and know that they're not like, or even just aren't decided about it all. But there is also, because of our like cultural conditioning, there are so many of us that are like, yep, babies, the wedding, the whole thing, I want it all. That like, we're looking for men to be like, yeah, I want those things too. You know, like, so you'll be fine. What I really need, I need honesty from people that know that they aren't ready for those things. And maybe they're not ready yet, but I need honesty on that front.
There's no shame there. There's no shame in not being ready. And I have mad respect for when I was dating actively. Like I had a mad respect for the men. Like when I would message them being like, look, I'm really at a point in my life where I'm looking for a monogamous relationship. And if they wrote back and they were like, I'm not ready for that. There was one time on my Bumble profile, I had like serious inquiries only like on there. Yeah. And one of the guys wrote me and was like, I don't know how serious I am though. And I was like, I thank you. I literally wrote him back and was like, thank you for telling me. He's like, I just want you to know you're beautiful. And I was like, I appreciate that. And then like unmatch. And that was it. And it was really sweet. You know what I mean? Like I would much rather have a guy own his truth than try and manipulate me by pretending to be ready or wanting a relationship just to have his way with me and then leaving, and vice versa, you know? Cause like for women, with the stereotype is the free meal. It's like, you're just going on a date with me for a free meal or for a free drink. And it's like, not okay either. So we just need to be honest. And the other thing I want to say that I myself used to be a believer of, and I see it on these shows and I can testify that this isn't true, is that older men automatically equals more maturity. This is bullshit. I have literally been on dates with 40-year-old men. Okay. When I was 20, God, how old was I when I met Jordan? I was 28. So 27. When I was 27, I went on a date with like a 38-year-old guy, 39. He was up there. He was over 10 years older than me. And because I was told that older men are more mature, that I was so mature for my age, I needed to date older men to be understood. Like that was something I was told a lot. I still am told that a lot, and I don't believe it. Yeah. And so I did it. Yeah, so I did it. I was like, okay, well, let's experiment. So went on a date with this guy. Super emotionally immature, super non-committal, only like, and so many other things. And like that clearly fizzled out very quickly. So it's like, we need to, it hurts me. And I know it hurts other people to hear that, well, I need to date someone older because they're more mature, but that's not true. That's so potentially not true. And I'm really sick of it. You know, I have dated, my ex was younger than me, technically, you know, by 9 months, not by much, but had more maturity than the 39-year-old person I dated. So it's like,
the way that I went out with like a 47-year-old guy that I was like, oh, I fancy this motherfucker. I fancy him. And I'm thinking I'm walking into an adult's apartment, like an adult's household. And not to totally drag this dude, but it looked like he never once in a day took care of himself, and he had a child. So it's just
terrifying.
Like, yeah, I was like, I'm going to like I'm bringing food over. Like, we're going to make dinner. And he's like, what's a vegetable? And I'm like, what is going on here?
What's a vegetable?
I gotta go. Like, it was, listen, I'm really glad you brought that up. It's not just about age that equates maturity. Like,
no.
Like, yes, do some of us fall into these stereotypes? Yes, and for good reason. And like, as younger people being immature and so on and so forth. But like, sometimes you really just got to fucking feel it out and get past that initial like shock factor that we saw Nancy go through, and just be like, listen, I need to process that. Give me a little bit. I'm gonna see you tomorrow, and then like see how you feel. Okay. Do you have more on Nancy that you wanted to say?
No, but I did just have a realization that obviously my date in the pod would be putting a PS5 in both pods and playing a game together.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I don't know. I didn't even think about it till literally just now. And I was like, well, duh. Like, we would play and I would be able to see, like, do we communicate well? Do we work well together as a team? Can I, like, you know what I mean? And, like, how do they handle competition? How do we handle losing? Like... You know?
Yeah, I was like, she's definitely about to name some gamer girl shit, and she did.
I did it. I went practitioner. I went like way like I need to know your deepest, darkest secrets.
Introduce me to your inner child.
Yeah. Which is great. And I definitely want to do that too. But I think like for this setting, that would have been a perfect, like, let me really see who I vibe with.
And also, like, if you're going to take them down that rabbit hole and like go from a practitioner's perspective, they either need to be like really about it and like share that space reciprocally with you and be like, yeah, and yours, who's she? You know, all of those things. Otherwise, they should be paying you for that time. Okay.
Basically, if you put Brie and I in a pod together, we'd fall in love.
We would. We already have. We're basically in a pod right now. My feelings about Nancy is that, like, on just on a personal note, like, I just related to her in a lot of ways. Like, I think that she seems of a good nature, good heart. Like, I think that she wants to believe in the best in people, and she seems like she's trying to show up in like her best self every time she comes to this space. But she also seems to me right now at this stage quite intentional, quite thoughtful, and it was interesting to kind of hear the little bits about Raven talking a little bit of shit, being like, you'd run into her in the grocery store like you knew her from home, and you're just like, keep it moving. And I just was like, she kind of seems like a dream to run into, because she's like sweet and like bubbly, and like I feel like it would take the pressure off of me to be that friendly in response. So like, bring on Nancy at Walmart. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm interested to see. I understand what Raven is saying. I don't think it was appropriate. I think that Raven is clearly triggered by her because they're two very different women. Like, Nancy is very bubbly, like Elle Woods, you know, and Raven is like badass, like Pilates instructor. I'm gonna, you know,
serious.
Which, yeah, and I get that, you know. So I'm trying to figure out if Raven is just triggered by Nancy's bubbly energy, and what within Raven is she, like, to me, usually when it's that kind of a trigger, it's like the self-judgment, like what within me is judging her for being that way. And I relate to that a lot because that used to be me. I used to be so judgy of like bubbly girls, and now I am one, but it was because of my own shit that I was carrying at the time. Then there's a part of me that's a little curious because I don't know if this is an intuition thing or what, but there's a part of me that feels that Nancy uses the bubbly energy a bit to mask an insecurity. And I'm trying to figure out so there's just a little, I'm just interested to get to know her more in this process. Exactly. I don't know what, there's a texture around Nancy that I'm trying to like zhuzh out, like how genuine, and then it's not because she doesn't desire these things. It's more just like, are you truly confident and comfortable with yourself? And is it coming from that place? Or is it coming from a place of like, I need to be this woman to get my man? So I'm just I'm waiting. I'm just waiting.
How did you feel about how she was met with the overtly sexual conversation with Andrew, where Andrew's kind of talking about like the kind of, I'm paraphrasing, but it should be on a t-shirt of mine. He's like introducing her to the kind of like lover that he would be, or that she would have in him. And how did you feel that she like navigated that conversation, which was clearly like a bit of a surprise to her?
Yeah. Well, obviously it turned her on. Like, she was fanning herself. She was like getting real all hot and bothered. I felt that she could have plugged in more, but I want to give her grace because her being hot and bothered, like, took her to a place where she wasn't. Yeah, it's vulnerable. And I think it also took her to a place where she was like really focusing on like receiving that and not able to like, okay, let me meet you where you are and let's talk about it. And so I don't think it was like good or bad. I just think it was like she was overwhelmed by hearing that in a relatively good way. Like I said, she was feeling it. But I think she missed out on an opportunity of sharing with him like what she would need in that setting. You know what I mean? And so right now it's all about Andrew's sexuality, but what about Nan? And maybe she did and we didn't get to see it. But
we got like I thought that it was nice how she sort of responsibly, like she didn't shame him, she didn't like make him feel like, oh my god, she didn't like immediately go to this like immature place of like, why are you being like that, like that's so weird, you know what I mean? As a way to sort of like navigate an awkward moment. Instead she kind of like respected what he was saying and also said, you know, I don't think that I've had as many experiences as you. I'm open to it. I thought that that was a quite receptive response to give, which is like, hey, I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly what you're talking about, but I do want to let you know that like I'm not running away from it. I'm interested in hearing more. The door and the windows are kind of open, but like I'm not like there. I'm not where you are. So
and that's why cool. I personally think that that'll be an interesting thing for them to have to navigate within a relationship if they do, because we kind of are left off on that cliffhanger, because it sounds like Andrew knows himself sexually a lot more than Nancy and is able to articulate that. And I think he's experimented more, which, by the way, he's not the first guy. I actually dated someone who did the withholding ejaculation thing but didn't communicate it to me at first, which I would have appreciated, because what I internalized it as like, I'm not good enough for you to finish, which was not what was happening. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that him sharing that wasn't off, like it was familiar to me. So I was like, oh, I actually, if I was her, I would have asked, I'd be like, what is up? Can I ask, like, what is that for a guy? Like, how does that feel, like, sensationally? Because to me, it's like, if I get to the point of orgasm and then I don't fully like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I would, you know what I mean? Like, it would be a letdown in a way. So I would, for me, like with where I'm at and with what I know about myself sexually, what I've experienced sexually, like that's kind of the conversation that I would have wanted to pursue. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Nancy's still learning that side of herself. And so, like you said, with what she communicated to Andrew, I think was fine. I just want more. I'm like, okay, if you guys are going to be together, you really have to like, and that doesn't mean that he needs to push her to, that's not what I'm saying. I just want her to feel safe with him instead of intimidated by his experience. You know what I mean?
I want to leave space to also note that like they are in these pods for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours for like a full 10 days. And I wonder how much of I wonder how much of these conversations we miss. Okay. Otherwise, just on the topic of Andrew, I don't get me wrong, his voice, hot fire sexy voice. His demeanor sometimes is like a little intense and like but maybe it's just a thing that I'm not really attracted to. Like, I like, don't get me wrong, I want someone to like be serious and like be sexy when they like it's time. But like, I also want someone a little playful, little goofy. Yeah. Yeah. I want a little playful. He is. I don't know if I'm just turned off by that because he's very like, and also the like, and I've been to Nibia and like all of these other, and I'm just like,
let's talk about that. Because this is what I think is so weird about him. Because like I said, he intrigues me. Because like what I really loved, my favorite Andrew moment was when he expressed to Nancy what love is to him, which is two imperfect people navigating their imperfections with respect and kindness. Like I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said, dwindled down from this quote. So I loved that about him. And I like the depth there. I'm a sapiosexual. So like if we can have a really intelligent conversation around something, that really turns me on. And I want to know more about the wildlife photographer. You're telling me that you're like in the wild, hiding in bushes, smelling carcasses go as you're waiting for the perfect shot of this lioness. That's what I want to hear about, instead of I've been to Dubai, I'm in my bougie ass suits. Of course, she can't see him, but we're seeing him like dressed to the nines, like really tailored stuff put together, which is very businessman-like. But like I said, and what I'm picking up from you is like, I want to see more of the like, who's the Andrew in his gray joggers, you know, sitting on the couch ordering a burger. Like, I want to get to know that side of him. And I feel that maybe he's not comfortable, or maybe that's just not who he is ever, and he's always just dining out. You know what I mean? But I feel you in that we are really only seeing one dimension of him so far, and it's very long-winded, intellectual, deep, intense conversations where it's like, tell me about a time you farted in front of a girlfriend, and like, what was that about? Yeah, it's like let's get some like like I don't know how else to describe it other than that.
No,
it's like, let's have a more human, like,
I just and this is just maybe me, but I'm just personally not like, it doesn't do anything for me just for someone to be like name dropping some of the experiences that they've had. And I feel like I feel like that's a tactic used by some men that I come across on dating apps a lot as well, of like, you know, and I get it. It's like, there's something that you can engage in a conversation about when you're mentioning your travels, but like, at what point are you just trying to like metaphorically show me your dick size? And you like want me to be like, ooh, that's so big.
So this is a great conversation hop to talk about Colleen. So men, I feel societally, again, talking about heterosexual norms here. So I just want to like
do with that what you will.
Open the floor. Yeah. So men, I feel societally have this pressure because it's like this provider energy. You have their big dick talk is like, I've traveled dick big. I've traveled all over. You know, I've traveled all over. I make this much money. This is how the kind of lover I am. You want me, right? And women are like, I'm flexible. I'm bendy. I'm sexy. I have this great bod. And like, we've been so conditioned to lead with these things. So we see Andrew trying to like, be alpha male. Here I am. I'm great at sex. I'm great at traveling. I'm great at this and blah, blah, blah. And then we have Colleen. And Colleen, it really nails on a chalkboard. I wrote this down because I was like, who do you think you are? When she was like, I'm a ballet dancer and you don't get to talk to one of those every day. And I'm like, okay.
Move to New York City, move to Los Angeles,
like,
move to
I don't talk to a real estate agent every day. I don't talk to a barista every day. I don't talk to a like, they're all worthy careers just because we don't get to talk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just felt weird.
It's using ballet almost like a personality trait. It's like, this is not your personality. This is a thing that you do. And I love that for you. But and also especially it's the close association that's really like conditioned for us because they don't teach you that in school. They're not going to be like, you're all dancers, so make sure that you let everyone know like how sexy that is. Like, they don't teach you that while they're like training you. It's something that's inferred as a cultural conversation, especially around dance, which is like, you tell someone you're a dancer and all of a sudden they're kind of thinking about you sexually. This can happen. Right?
Yes.
I wonder if that's happened to you. It's happened to me. Definitely while growing up.
Yeah. In high school. Like, yeah, but that's my point. In fucking high school.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you're a dancer. You must be flexible. And that's what really bothered me about this is so just as Andrew's posturing his alpha maleness in all of his ways, Colleen's trying to posture her femininity and I'm a ballet dancer. I'm really limber. And so she's planting this seed of sexuality. She's sexualizing herself as a means to get her man. And it's just like, ladies, we bring way more to the table than just our vaginas. We bring in our boobs. Like, we bring so much more to the table. Can we not, like, that is the icing on the fucking cake. You get to experience that part of me. You're not entitled to that part of me. So before I tell you how fucking limber I am and I can put my leg behind my fucking head while you do whatever it is you want to do to me, let me, like, talk to you about, hey, this is what I really need in a relationship. These are my weaknesses. These are my strengths. What about you? Like,
yeah.
And so I feel, and this is kind of when we started the episode and I was like, we even see bad dating habits show up. These are what I'm talking about. It's like, we're still so conditioned to have these weird conversations where it's like, let's just be humans together. Let's talk about our biggest lessons. This is the time to do that.
Yeah. Well, Colleen does that, and it's something that I recognize in myself and in other like people like that our age that we've grown up in this like whole dating career of our lives. It's familiar to me because it's an effort to say, I'm not certain that you're going to like me, so I'm going to throw out what I imagine you might find likable, fuckable, attractive about me because I really want to hook you into this space so then like I can start to show you who I am. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a bit of like, it's a self-preservation skill because it's sort of like, I want to give you the low hanging fruit so that hopefully you stay long enough and then we can really get to know each other. And I get it. I feel like I used to do this with like the cool girl thing. I'm not like other girls. Like, I'm cool. Like, I can hang. Like, don't you want to continue to hang out with me? And then you'll realize that I'm like just as basic as every other bitch you've ever met. You know what I mean? Like, I really feel like we do that And we're confused and we're like, wait, why didn't that work? Why didn't the fact that they were so vocal about how excited they were that I was flexible or that I was cool and that I drank beer? Why didn't that work? Why didn't that make them stay? And it's because like, babes, that's not what people are actually finding themselves sinking their teeth into when it comes to attraction that like makes people want to get to know you. So we have this issue with Cole, right?
Yeah.
Where
oh my God.
Cole, and we're going to talk about Cole because like I could probably write a fucking thesis on Cole, but like
oh my gosh, so many interesting things.
Yeah. But we have Colleen and Cole, and I like when they're mentioning like their energy, like I'm seeing it, like I get it. The two of them are both like little like pinwheels, but if the pinwheels were filled with cocaine and they were just like literally like spinning and bouncing off the walls. But they could have like an energy between them. And Cole, albeit he goes from like little boy ADHD, like didn't take his medicine that day, to like I'm serious and I want to like have deep conversations, which it's great. I love the variability in his personality, but he like switches the flip and then like and then Colleen's just sort of like, oh, I guess I'm not really that deep. And that was a really interesting progressive conversation for the two of them to have. And when I say progressive, I mean like the progression of Colleen starting to bring awareness to the possibility, because I can't say this about her, I don't know her, the possibility that she is not either that deep of a person. I don't know if I totally know what that means in reality, like in its actual definition, or if she like has never felt herself comfortable going deeper, exploring some of those like deeper layers, some closer vulnerabilities that typically feel like they're surrounded by spikes and we're like, ouch, I don't want to touch those, right?
Yeah. I feel like it's not that she's incapable or doesn't enjoy it. I think she doesn't feel safe to go there. And I relate to her in a little bit because like coming from the ballet world myself, I fucking get it. It's like if anyone's seen the movie Black Swan, it's not too far off, like you're pushed to be this perfect version of you. And like ballet dancers, if you're menstruating, the audience doesn't give a fuck, and get up there and do your 32 fouettes, like no one cares. And, which is just a bunch of turns for anyone listening. But it's just like,
okay, but they're really hard turns and you have to do them exactly precisely and you have to keep a spot and they have to be even and it has to be on the beat. And if God forbid that there's others, you have to all be doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
It's turns with a purpose.
And so that's the
turns
thing.
With an
and it's
agenda.
Like, and it's also like you go up the ranks in ballet. So it's like when you're in the corps de ballet, you're supposed to be just like everyone else. You're not supposed to stand out. You're supposed to, be in line, hit your mark, move your arm at the same time at the same angle. Like they really dissect it. And we, like Brie, obviously you can testify to this because we've had plenty of rehearsals together in our past, but it's just like, I feel for her because I think that there's a part of that aspect of herself that so bleeds into who she is, even outside of the studio, that lack of comfortability to go deep with herself is now translating into the relationships because it's become like, I am one of the many in this studio. I am one of the many just playing this part instead of being like, who am I? What do I like to do? Who am I? Yeah. And I think that, so I just feel that with her. I feel like Colleen just needs some help, like getting to know herself and then owning that outside of the studio and inside the studio where applicable, I mean, you still have a job to do as a ballet dancer, right? But it's like, just like an actor has to portray a certain role, Matthew McConaughey can't be Matthew McConaughey in every single role. He has to become that character. But outside,
sometimes he tries.
Yeah, and outside in real life, it's like he is who he is. So that's just kind of what I'm trying to say with Colleen here. It's like, I think that it's not that she's not a deep person. I think she's saying that to protect herself. I think that there's a lot of depth there that probably is dying to get out, but she doesn't know how to do it because it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah. And she is like a little bit younger. I also, I'm constantly in the conversation about Colleen and constantly like wondering what's her family system like? What was vulnerability displayed and explored in any of her family of origin relationships?
Clearly not.
It's clearly no. It's clearly no, but you know, you never know. So, I'm curious about that, but I think that she's young, and I think that actually, while the experience with Cole with her, because he eventually is like, listen, if we can't get deep, like, it's not for me.
It's not for me.
I think that was really difficult for Colleen to go through. I think that she experienced a really heavy dose of rejection after the first rejection that she suffered from Brennan. After she was like connecting with him, whom we've not talked about yet, but we will. And I think, while I think that was difficult for her, I also think that it was very important for her to go through, because it seemed like the first time that she was realizing, I don't go deep. There's a barrier there, and not because I can't, because I'm not asked to.
Feel
I
safe.
It's not comfy. Yeah, I don't feel safe doing it. And this is a particular moment in which, someone's noticed that about me instead of just myself. That can be a really pivotal moment. And if those are moments that make you feel like, whoa, I feel like I've just been exposed naked, even though I'm fully clothed, I encourage people to try to use that as an opportunity to be like, wow, what might I take away from this? Because if she has that moment and she approaches that with curiosity, being like, oh, interesting, I'm not in the habit of getting deep with my feelings, pulling back some of these layers. I wonder if I feel safe doing that in a relationship, what might that be like in my relationship? And the answer is, with a safe person, with the right person. It's very beautiful and very necessary for you, the life of your relationship. The end.
Yeah, totally. So my fear with Colleen, if I'm going to be completely honest with what I kind of see happening, is she's rejected by Cole, then she's rejected by the other guy, who I can't remember who that is. Brennan, thank you. And then she ends up latching onto Matt. And I think Matt's kind of an interesting guy too. I'm fascinated. Yeah. So, I feel that Matt, just from what he's shared, I don't know if he's fully healed from his past relationship. And let me backtrack. I say fully healed. I want to like put air quotes around that, because I say this all the time. Yeah, I say this all the time. Like, new level, new devil. Like, healing is not an end destination, because with every moment as a human, we're evolving, we're growing. And so to think that like all of a sudden it's like, I've done the inner work, I'm done, you're setting yourself up for failure right there, because that's not possible. The second you stop evolving, aka healing, you're stagnant, you're dying. And it's like, no one wants that. So when I say fully healed, I mean healing that one wound where he's able to now come forward and fully trust within a relationship, or at least start to in the interwebs of trusting, or not interwebs, but the web of connection to trust. And and so maybe this could be a blessing where they both are hesitant to open up, and maybe they'll bond over that and be able to open up. But then I'm curious, like, is that a trauma bond? Like, how else could this like show up later? So
or will their old habits get the best of them? Like, I could very much see the old habits getting the best of them,
and it blow up.
It's just kind of continuing to leave space for distance, where like emotional intimacy could grow and exist, but even though it'd be scary and uncomfortable to start, because I could see them kind of meeting in the middle, where like Colleen uses like her sex appeal and her flexibility, and like Matt is like, I'm Mr. Positive and like I'm attracted to you, and like they like forge meeting in the middle there, but they're not actually like really meeting each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But again, there's so many conversations that we miss. So we like,
I know.
I don't know. Did they spend time talking about all of their childhood trauma that they can remember? I don't know.
Maybe.
Netflix doesn't find that to be valuable for me. And I wish that they would hear me after I write them so many letters.
I know, for real. Because here's the thing that's mind blowing. So like we see this with Brennan and not Colleen. What's her name? Oh my gosh, I have it written down. We see
with Brennan and Alexa. Alexa,
thank you. Hey. Brennan and Alexa. First of all, I want to give Alexa shout outs, because this girl owns her shit. Is confident despite so many societal norms that would tell her she's not good enough in so many ways. And I love that about her. And I think that her being like, fuck the world, this is who I am, is so sexy. And and Brennan does too. And I think that, so kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying about writing letters to Netflix saying, show us the conversations. When I saw these two, cause they're the first to get engaged and meet, like, you know, in the little tunnel or whatever, I was like, whoa, this happened so quickly. But I can almost, because Alexa being who she is and Brendan being who he is, it also didn't surprise me fully. And I thought that the way they connected when they met in real life was really sweet, because they really just sat there and embraced each other and like felt that and rested into that. And I love that, you know, Brennan's like, she tells me she eats chips with her mouth open, and he's like, I'll get used to it. Like, I thought that was cute, but it's like, you know, she's very, obviously she shared with him, I eat a lot, and like this is probably a weakness of mine. I have a tendency to not cook. Okay.
He goes, I love food. He's like, I love food. I thought it was really sweet. He goes, even if that's a pet peeve of mine, I hope that she's next to me eating chips with her mouth open.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so cute. And you're probably also going to like, that's going to get old. But like, yeah, it's cute right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if it does get old, but it's like, it's one of those things where a lot of people, like, if I'm being honest, if I heard that, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I could, I don't know. For me, I really don't. Yeah. Not because, now maybe if I met someone who like knocked my socks off and I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. But it is
learning about
to be
it
aware
early
of.
On.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, learning about it early on is great, because it allows someone to make that. Same thing with like, I'm not super organized. I don't clean my house a lot. Okay, for some people that's a deal breaker. For Brie, it's a deal breaker.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, but wouldn't you rather know that than you know what you're signing up for going into it than down the road and being like, oh, shoot.
No, you know what I want to know? Are you willing to learn?
Exactly. Are you open to influence? Are you open to doing X, Y, or Z?
Because you want to know who I'm not. I'm not your nanny nor your mommy.
Yep.
So that's how I feel about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about those two, and we'll see what happens. Do you have anything to say about Brendan and Alexa?
I just like think that they were cute as it's always okay. I didn't realize this until I was watching the show. It's always weird for me to watch Love is Blind and then see two people be like, I love you. I love you. I love you so much. I love you so much. I'm like, you guys. But I think
know each other for 8 hours.
I know. I was telling Alex off screen, off record, that like, I am not one that's quick to just fall in love. Despite what my astrological Libra sun placement would tell me, it's just not me. So it's like, it's just hard for me to be like, I love you. I love you too. I've known you for 2 minutes. But however, I co-sign their connection because, oh my God, you could just like, first of all, they really just let themselves be themselves. And then they realize that they really just met each other on so many different planes. And I think that that is the purpose of the experiment. I think that that's beautiful. And I could tell, like, you know, before they meet each other for real, Alexa's like excited, but she's also like a little nervous. She's wondering like, I'm not everyone's type, but I just hope that I'm his type. And I was like, oh my God, girl, I feel you. And then he's already like kind of like rock hard for her. He doesn't even care. Yeah. And then like he sees her and I love that he reassured her. He was like, listen, like they already meet. He's like, I'm all in. I'm all in. I got you. And I'm like, that's beautiful, because whatever fears she may have had, because even so you meet and like, I think I'd wonder like, yeah, like we just built this crazy connection and like we're meeting and like maybe the excitement is really getting us in this moment, but like, is this going to die down, or are you going to like find yourself being like, she's right, you know?
Yeah. Or are you not going to be attracted to me? Like, could you imagine building such a connection? Yeah. And then it being like, oh,
it happens. That happened in the second Love is Blind season.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That's okay. That's another show, you know?
There was something I was going to say and I forget what it is. So let's just move on.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to, we started on Cole. We kind of left him. Let's come back to Cole. Let's go to Cole, Zeynep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get why these two click. I remember what I was going to say, but we'll come back to it because there's quite a few instances of it. I really like them together for the most part. I'm still a little concerned about Cole. But we still see a little bit of like, you know, she picks up on he wants to travel, her being a flight attendant. Yeah, she kind of starts like instead of posturing with sex, now she's like, well, I can take you here and we can do there and we can just decide to go here and I can take you to this place for a steak dinner and then we'll fly right back. And it just was like, why? This is the kind of, when I talk about energetics in relationships, like this is the kind of thing where I'm like, I see so many women on this show trying to prove their worth by these things, like by doing this. It's like, this is what I can do for you. And it's like, why don't you just be you? Like, why do you have to tell them that? You know what I mean? Like,
Pause,
it felt so icky.
I have a question. I think sometimes we either A, don't really know who we are. We haven't like fully explored who we are.
So true.
And B, I think that we are sort of we're really like brought up and conditioned that like you really need to be a certain kind of woman to like land this partner. So I feel like I've heard that so much growing up, and like my parents are not of a generation that's much older than us. Like it's just kind of like be this kind of girl. Like you want to be open, you want to be friendly, you want to be nice, you want to be pleasant, you want to be bubbly, you want to you know what I mean? It's just like we're constantly riddled with messages of like be this instead of ever being like, who are you? How do you want to show up in the space with a new person? What do you like about other people? Oh, God forbid we should ask ourselves what the fuck we like about other people.
For real.
So it's just, for real. I think that we maybe not have been supported in actually discovering who we are to really show up as we are. And two, I would just we're totally supported with very different messages and what to do in that space.
Yeah. And the only, like, they eventually get to deeper topics. Like, they talk about their relationship with God, and they both seem to be on the same page about how that's going to be, you know, what that looks like for a marriage for them. Like, they've talked about that. So cool. They clearly they connect. They end up getting engaged. They also meet in RL, and Cole is, like, ridiculously attracted to her, which I'm happy about. Yeah. Yeah. I was a little nervous. I was like, oh no. Yeah. I thought he might judge her. Yeah.
No. And he didn't. And she's adorable. She's so beautiful. It made me a little uncomfortable when he was like, wow, wee wow about her boobs. Yeah. But I was like, just so much one of those moments where I was like, men are just like grown up baby boys.
Not all of them, though. Like, that's what's so, exactly. Some, and unfortunately, a lot of the ones that we see on TV are that way because TV likes to portray. Yeah. Because it's like, you know, there's a lot of men who might see that and be like, woohoo, perk, but they're not gonna react that way. You know what I mean? They're gonna be like, wow, she was more beautiful than I ever could have imagined. And like, that's all they're gonna say. And that's a very different vibe.
He goes, I can work with that. I was like,
I hated that. And then she said it right back to him and he laughed at least and like received it. But it's just like, what does that mean? Like, what are you not saying when you say that? I can work with that. Like, this is good enough. Like, it just feels...
No, what I heard when I heard that was like, first of all, it was like, oh, she's got a body that, and don't get me wrong, that's amazing. Like, I love that he's attracted to her. Like, yay.
Yeah.
But also it felt very like a little transactional. And a little like, oh, I'm really glad this worked out. Because if it didn't, we'd be in some real trouble, huh?
Yeah. Like if you weren't to my standard, whatever that is for Cole, this would have not been a thing. It just, I don't really have anything else to add to that. I'm happy for them. I'm interested to see where it goes. There's a part of me for some reason that just doesn't trust Cole.
No. I think like, okay, you want to actually, and I want to get your actual thoughts on this because I had this thought, I had this feeling, this reaction, and then I didn't know if I was wrong for having it. So we learned that Matt's divorced, but we also learned that Cole's divorced. And he said that he met his ex-wife 2 months before they got like engaged and later married,
and then they were
married
for 4 months,
divorced. Like, for like 4.5 months. And then, and again, this is the show's edit, so and maybe there was more involved in the conversation, but then he was like, so if you're looking for someone who's ready for marriage, you're talking to the right guy. And I'm like, am I though? Because what I hear is someone who's like quite got their finger quite quick on the trigger of marriage, and like how much foresight have you thought about that experience? What would you do differently? What ownership do you have in what happened there, the start, the beginning and the end? You know what I mean? Like, I just felt like, I don't know if this was giving me, I'm really serious and really ready for a relationship vibes. That felt like I don't give a fuck vibes.
Yeah. So I heard that. My little alarm bells went off because I had a trial marriage. I got married really young at 20 and divorced at 23.
You didn't think it was a trial marriage?
No, I did not. And not only that, I tried everything I possibly could before leaving that marriage. So here's the other thing. In religious worlds, the 2-month, like we dated for 2 months and got married, that's kind of normalized. So there's a Exactly. So there's a part of me that wants to like hear what Cole, because I hear what he's saying about his relationship with God and how important that is. I hear that he's telling this story about how he dated someone for 2 months and got married. There's so many factors that could be more than just us thinking, oh, he met someone that he thought was hot and wanted to have sex, so he got married. Totally could be it. Totally could be it. Yes. Could also be like, you know, that's what is meant. Like, again, it's normalized. In Christian universities, there's this saying that's ring by spring. Like, as a freshman in college, you should be engaged by the spring semester, your second semester of college. No, that's a thing. Oh. So, girl, there's a reason I got married at 20. Yeah, I know, but so like normalized.
I know, and yes, okay, yes, that totally makes sense. And thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that, because I come from it doesn't feel like there's such different backgrounds, but they obviously are, because it like sounds so foreign to me. And we also have to remember that these particular folks on this season are based out of Dallas, Texas.
Oh, that tracks. I didn't know that. Hence the hat that Brennan wore. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So it's like, I just want to create space where that previous marriage that Cole's alluding to, it could quite simply be he didn't care. It could be, oh, because of where I was when I met this person and the constraints we put on this relationship, it pushed us to get married really quickly. And then we learned really quickly that wasn't the answer. And so, there's a lot there. But I feel you, and we don't know yet. And I will say this, I want to say this though. I watch these shows kind of like, I say this all the time, like a private eye, like a detective, right? It's like we're collecting clues. We're collecting clues here. And so I want to say that I want to open the floor for Cole with what I just stated in the whole religious lens. And I also want to say, with what I've seen with Cole and what he hyper-focuses and fixates on and what we've seen in his confessionals and the way he's interacted so far, it does seem that he's a little emotionally immature with these kinds of commitments. So we're watching, we're observing, we're collecting clues. And that's really where I'm at with him.
Yes. And if someone had to ask me, Brianna, what do you think with all of the materials that you have collected at this time about this individual? I would say that I could be wrong, but it feels like someone who definitely knows what he wants, which is major plus. That's great. He knows that he wants to have kids. He wants boobs. He wants boobs, and he wants to have children attached to those boobs. Yeah. And he wants a faithful relationship, which I think is beautiful. And I think that is beautiful that he and Zenab really connect on that, and good for him. And so he knows what he wants, but his emotional maturity has some room to develop. So he's one of those people that reads to me as like very clear on what he wants, and yet hasn't really honed in on some of the skills and needs to make all of his dreams come true in the way that he probably envisions for himself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I think.
So,
okay.
Moving on.
Zenab, on the other hand,
okay.
Sorry, just last comment about Zenab is that she also, like Nancy, kind of said about her history, having a very clear, in a very like Virgo kind of way, like a very specific list of people that she wanted to date and like very, very specific standards. And while she is also taken aback by Cole's age and a little bit curious about that for herself, she does kind of like lean in. She's like, listen, we're connecting, we're vibing, it's happening. I'm gonna see where this goes. And I thought that was a cool thing to take a risk on, considering the fact that they connected on all these other areas and it felt very good between them. And she was really going off of how he made her feel. And that is usually what you probably want to do, at least at this stage. Maybe not lead definitely to an engagement in a couple of days, but if you're dating someone in the real life, like, yeah, lead. If it feels good, move forth and prosper or whatever.
Yeah. Word. So
SK.
we have SK, our Nigerian king, who I fucking love him. This is actually...
He's a sweetie.
He's a sweetie, and he's a really emotionally mature... I really like SK a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And I'm sad that we haven't gotten a lot of him, but I think that's because conscious relationships conversations.
Don't trend well for reality television.
Yeah, but we can tell that that's definitely what's going on with him, because I loved his discussion around how, I grew up with a polyamorous family or a polygamous family, but that's not what I see for myself. And that's not what I desire in partnership. I really value equal partnership. And I loved that. I thought he was so articulate. Fuck, it was sexy. Yeah, I think Raven really lucked out with that, because I think there's a part of her that preferred Bartise, but because of the rejection, she ended up like, I want to say settling, but it really wasn't a settling. It was an upgrade in my opinion.
No, it was and I think she feels that way too, because we saw Raven get caught in kind of a pattern of her own, which is she became aware of Bartise's her imagination of his physical attributes,
muscles.
He works out a lot, muscles, and she said for herself, she's like, that is something that is like catnip
makes my
to
brain
me.
go
Like
off.
Her brain goes off. She really like goes. She can forgive a lot of people for things when they look a certain way that she is attracted to. Girl, I feel you, and I appreciated her awareness and honesty about that.
Same.
Very, very, very good. Very
for
good.
me, European
so she's
accent.
Like, I'm working on it.
Dead. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that about you.
Oh, I have a couple.
You got to get to Europe, huh?
I should be careful. No. I should be careful with what I disclose here, because I don't want people using that against me. But yeah.
Or use it intentionally and responsibly.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. A good accent. Ooh.
So she also connects with Bartise because, and she makes a very familiar, I don't want to call it a mistake because I don't think it's always a mistake, but a familiar behavioral pattern that we do tend to do while we're dating, which is go towards the person who reminds you of you. When we hear this a lot of like, oh my God, it's like me in other person form, me in male form, me in female form. It's just, I feel like we're like the same person. And she quickly realizes that as they're spending time together in the pods, they're connecting, that like she really doesn't feel the same. And what she notices, which her emotional, I want to say, I don't know if it's her emotional intelligence or her self-awareness that she comes in with and that she is building in this process is so beautiful to me. It's poignant because she gets to a place where as she's connecting with Bartise for a little while, she's like, she starts to realize, she goes, you are looking for a kind of woman in a relationship that I don't want to be in. You're looking for something in a relationship that I don't see for myself. And she said, it's through talking to this other person, parentheses, SK, where she's like, I'm realizing that the kind of relationship I want to be in is totally different. I want to be myself. I don't want to be someone who caters just to the relationship 24/7, because if I'm being totally honest with you and myself right now, that's not who I am. And I thought that was one, powerful, two, very counterculture for women. And I love to hear her own that, because there was actually a biological part of me that almost wanted to judge her for a minute, to be like, you want to be selfish like that? And then I was like, yo, if that's not how, if she had to just prioritize the relationship, and that's how she had to show up just to be in one, she's going to lose that fire in herself that makes her an individual. So she just needs a very different kind of relationship. And SK is like, he says all of the right things, but it's not that he's trying to peg what she wants to hear. He means it. He's like, I want to love you the way that you want to be loved. Oof. Mm-hmm. That's fucking powerful.
Yeah, because it's going to be different for every part. And I think that's something that we learn over time. I think we get so stuck in, this is how I love, this is how I receive love, and I'm just going to keep doing me. And then we tell ourselves this lie that when my partner speaks up and says, actually, this is my love language and this is what I need from you, it's like, you're trying to change me. But it's like, no, they're not. And we need to be honest here. And I have clients ask me all the time, like, what's the difference between me changing who I am to be in a relationship versus me meeting my partner's needs? And I'm like, okay, it's coming from two completely different places. I like, using myself as an example, I play video games. I like Harry Potter. And I smoke pot. Like, those are three things about Alex that if you get to know me, you'll know that about me.
It's fine. It's on her baseball card. You'll get it.
Yeah, it's on my baseball card. But this is my point in saying there. It's like, if I were to go start dating someone, and I don't drink, like I don't, it's such a rare occasion for me to drink. But if I started dating someone and all of a sudden I started drinking and I stopped, partaking in 420, because that's my preferred method of kicking back, right? So it's like, if I all of a sudden start drinking, if I all of a sudden am like, no, I don't really like Harry Potter, but I love, thrillers and horror movies, which is so not me. I mean, I do occasionally like them, but it's not my preference. It's like, I'm changing me. I am changing me. Now, if I'm in a relationship and I'm able to do the things that I want to do, watch the things I want to watch, but my partner's like, hey, my love language is quality time. Can we go out and do X, Y, or Z? Or can maybe tonight, instead of watching Harry Potter, we watch this? Yes. But that's not like, me changing who I am. Right. That's not me changing who I am. That's me saying, like, okay, my partner's communicating to me that they want to connect in this way, and I'm going to give that to them. Yeah. But I still get to do the things that I love. I still get to stay true to who I am. Yeah. And so I think that that's the difference here, and that's the difference with SK and Raven in this moment. It's like, he knows it's going to be different for any woman I were to date, but with Raven, he's communicating to her like, I want you to tell me what you need, and I want to show up in that way for you, and vice versa. And that's what's needed in relationships if we want them to be longer than a month.
Yeah. And I want to give people the opportunity, because sort of similar to what we were saying earlier, like, a lot of us haven't really felt like we had the room to just explore who we are. And when I hear you talk about all of these, like, certainty about the things that you like, I applaud it, because I'm like, yes, this is a really good example of someone who maintains their individualism in their relationship and like can has options to like be who she is and also connect with her partner. I just want to speak to maybe people who don't have like this full list of hobbies or interests or information that you know about yourself.
100.
If you don't need to figure all that out. Yeah, exactly.
It took me
you don't
time.
Need to figure. Yes,
Years.
You don't need to figure all of that out before you get into a relationship to be able to be like, and I need space so I can do all the hobbies that I just discovered last week. I think what would feel really good if we could just put our imagination cap on for a moment is if you meet someone and they give you plenty of room for you to figure some of that out on your own, instead of just being like, well, I like baseball and I like horror films and I like Family Guy. And so if you don't want to watch these things, then you're just clearly not the person for me. And it's like, that person should also be able to give you space and be like, oh, I see that you're trying to like find your little hobbies. Like, do your thing, girl. Like, okay, do you like, should we explore meetup.com? Like, what do you feel? What do you interested? Yeah. Like, you want to still be in a relationship that's going to leave room for that. So I encourage you not to just like Kirby, like soak up someone's power and their interests and just like turn into a sidekick of all of the things that they do just because you're like, oh, well, they have stuff. Like, let me just glob on. Leave room, figure out your stuff still, and also date this person you fancy. Good for you.
Yeah, and like it takes time. And also going back to the evolution conversation we had earlier, things that I liked 5 years ago, I don't like now. And vice versa. There's things that I don't like now that I will probably like in 5 years. So it's just like, that's the thing about relationships that I think people lose sight of. It's like we make these declarations of like, you know, I'm going to love you for the rest of my life, but that doesn't mean like I'm loving who you are in this moment for the rest of my life. I'm loving you and who you choose to grow and evolve and become, obviously assuming it's healthy conscious, not like on the other, you know, not down the pathway, but up. But it's like, you know, like we need to make space for the person that we're committing to today isn't necessarily the person they're going to 100% be tomorrow, right? As we grow and evolve, we each develop new things that we enjoy or maybe not enjoy anymore. And it's just okay. Instead of being like, you know, assuming they're locked in as they were when you first met them. That's not possible.
Yeah.
Yes. So next,
I think
that's it.
That could be it.
We did it.
I mean, I guess the only thing that we didn't mention is that we see Matt and Colleen say that they love each other. And again, I had another moment. This is probably just a me issue where they were like, I love you, I love you, I love you.
I wanted to throw up too. It felt really like just the thing. Look, I want to make space that these people are so excited about these relationships and connections they're making. And I also want to say that for those of us watching, it's really hard because I'm with you. It's hard for me to be like I wanted to be like, stop saying it. Like I really was reacting that way. Like, shut your mouth. Like, don't say it anymore. You've said it enough. But it made me uncomfortable only because one, I'm not in their body and feeling what they're feeling. And two, we see this much. Like, for all we know, they're in there for 10 hours a day talking.
They are.
Like, for 2 to 3 days. And so, of course, they feel that way because the proximity they've had and the length of time. Like, you know, if we hung out with someone for 30 straight hours in a row, we probably would start developing feelings of love if we connected well with that person. So it's just like, it's hard for us to relate. Yeah, it's hard for us to relate because of the lens in which we're viewing these relationships develop. But I want to tell you that it's not just a you issue. I feel the exact same way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Yeah. So,
and it's also like part of the show. Okay.
True.
Let's start
the
with
show
red.
maybe wants them to look a little cray-cray for doing it, even though they're totally setting it up for that.
Yep.
Okay.
My red flag is, and again, right now it's just like a personal red flag, but like Andrew's, like, it's the chauvinistic, like I'm laying out all of these accomplishments that I've made and trying to turn it. I don't know if it's trying to turn it into a story that's like supposed to get a reaction out of you, or if it's just genuine of like, I chased money after college and then I like found myself in wildlife photography, and that would have been cool. Like, that's interesting. But then it became like, and I've traveled to all of these places. And for me, I would have been like on the other side being like, cool.
Yeah,
great.
Exactly. I
Sounds
also wonder
awesome.
if they edited it that way. I also wonder if they like,
maybe
had him like list like, we'll never know.
All of his places. Yeah, that's my red flag.
It feels icky because it just feels like we said before, like you're just trying to pump yourself up, and it's just like, okay, like, and what did you learn with those experiences? Because that's what I care way more about than like where you've been. Yeah. I concur. My red flag is gonna go to my fellow ballet dancer, Colleen, and like, girl, there's so much more to you than what you do and how flexible you are, and I hope you find that, and I hope you lead with that. And for any women listening who are like, they feel the need to lead with sexuality to get their man, I get it. I was there at one point too, and we don't, because when we lead with sexuality to get our man, we only get a man who values us for our sexuality, and that's not the vibe. We don't want that.
Period. Colleen.
Green.
Be flexible with yourself. Be flexible with your heart.
Yes.
And go to some of those. Be really flexible with your insides, and get there and do that back bend in your emotional brain, and figure out what has been just sitting with you all of this time. Knock on her door and say, I can do the splits too.
Knock on my door. We'll be waiting for you.
Thank you. I didn't have to cut the words. Yeah, agreed. Okay, I had a quick ballet question.
Oh, okay. I'm taking my first ballet class in forever on Tuesday.
I am
freaking
so
the fuck
happy
out.
for you. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be so cool.
You know what you need to remind yourself of. I'm not gonna repeat it here, but you just remind yourself of it all the time.
Yeah,
it's
recreational.
Yeah, it's recreational. It's recreational. It's recreational. It's recreational. This is not a test. This is not a performance. Okay.
Stop cranking your chair.
I don't mean to be a hater. I'm going to sound like a hater, but I don't mean to be one. Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel within the dance community that you were a part of, or other dance communities that were sort of adjacent to yours, did you ever notice like some dancers just being like, got real pick me energy, like any opportunity they could, they're like in public, like trying to bust out a move, like a lift, like a crazy, a something or other?
Yeah, of course. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, like you grow up auditioning, and that's kind of basically what I'm trying to say with Colleen is we're so used to like, let me put this number on my chest and stand in a fucking line of girls and try and stand out, you know? And so I think that translates into our normal day-to-day life. Well, it's something I definitely had to work on because it's like, that's not it. You know what I mean? But are you asking like, do I go to the beach and I'm like, do a fish, like lift me, air best press now? Or what do you mean?
I'm not saying were you doing it, and if you were, that's okay too. Cause I could be honest, but like,
I actually don't think I ever have.
Being in like a group of people and people just being like, I don't know, just like trying to, it's almost in the same way that Colleen was like leading with her sexuality because of the close association with dance. I also noticed that like dancers, some dancers sometimes can lead with dance just to like foster attention. It's just like, look at me. It's like, girl, like we're in a public place. We're at a mall. Put your feet on the ground.
Yeah, I will. So this is like me being quirky. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's times where I'm like grocery shopping, or even like if I'm thinking, I'll start doing I'll tap in place. And
I'm dancing in public, but I'm not like leaping.
No, exactly.
In the aisles.
So that's what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Is like there's definitely times where I find myself like dancing just because like it's in my soul and I can't sit
Movement,
still.
Music,
right?
Yeah,
but it's not coming from a place of like, look at me do 32 fouettes in the grocery aisle because I'm cool or whatever, or at a bar.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like I will lose my mind at a bar dancing, but it's usually like nerdy white girl dance, not like look at how beautiful I can. Exactly, it's for me. It's
for
not
me.
Yeah, and there's no men that approach me because I dance like a white nerdy girl in a bar, and they're like, "Hey," I mean,
oh my god,
if so, it would probably be my soulmate. But like,
hey, sweet moves.
They're like, I saw your really white girl shimmy, and I just had to come get your number because that shit was awesome. Like,
I said, I want to see that. I want to see you shimmy all over the dang place.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay, sorry. Just it was just like a quick tidbit. Okay, anyway, green flag. I think my green flag is the moment that Raven understands herself in the context of a relationship, and a relationship that she's realizing really works for her. And what I think, this is like a green flag of like, this is something that we could all really find for ourselves. It doesn't have to be the same projection, the same narrative of like, I need someone who just like lets me be totally myself and selfish and really not prioritize the relationship. I'm saying find how you would love to feel in your ideal version of a relationship. Figure out what that version of yourself looks like. What does she do? How does she show love? How does she receive love? How does she like to spend her time on the weekends? Figure out, or if you're not a she, whoever the fuck you are, figure out what that person wants, and then like move forward with that goal in mind. And then you'll really be able to find who sticks to that. Like I think having this discovery of Raven allowed her to really see SK as a really viable option, because all of a sudden he really fit with what feels like what she was imagining she needed. And it's something that you can harness yourself instead of waiting to find in someone else. That's why I love that.
I love that. So on the other side of that, my green flag is going to go to SK. And what I loved about SK, particularly in being vulnerable and expressing how he was raised, and the contrast in which he sees his own relationships in his future. You know, he described, like, I saw how hard that was on the women in my life, you know, and he's like, and I don't want that for my partner. And I loved that it was unemotional in the sense that, like, it wasn't coming from a place of, like, he was angry at his father or family for choosing this way of living. It seems like he's made a lot of peace with it, and yet is very consciously aware of, like, this is what I desire for my relationships. This is what partnership means to me. And being able to so articulately and calmly, to be able to so articulate in a calm manner to someone else that you're quite literally not able to see face to face. I just thought that was just a great demonstration of emotional maturity and communicating values and explaining why those values matter so much to you. We can all learn how to be better at that, I feel, even myself included.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I have one more red flag to give.
Oh, give it.
One more. And I know I just gave Raven a major green flag, and I meant it, and I don't intend to take it back, but I am giving her a red flag.
I love it.
And it's
great.
It's for doing jumping jacks while Bartice was like emotionally sharing. I get it. Listen, ADHD girls unite. Like, some of us, and maybe she's not even ADHD, but some of us really just struggle to, like, sit still and, like, can also be, like, active and listening while, like, doing a physical thing. I get that there's space for that. And there's a time and a fucking place. Like, if someone is saying, like, and this, like, deep thing about my mom and my history and my experience with women and or what, I couldn't even focus on the story. And again, the show's edits really, like, played this up. Couldn't even focus on the story because she's doing jumping jacks. And it's just like, I get it. Here's what I want to leave room for. It's one thing if Raven didn't really recognize as this being, like, sort of a really kind of important moment to be fully present for. But even if it's not for you, being able to recognize that it could be important for the other person to be like, hey, why don't I put down my phone? Why don't I put down my chips and guac? Let me listen. I'm just going to listen for a moment, and then I can go back to what I was doing in just a minute and doing like couch crunches or whatever that was. But I'm just going to, like, perk my ears up and listen and be here and then reassess. That's all. Just that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I think we skipped over it in our, and I think it's a really important point because everyone will always remember how you make them feel. And so for Bartice in this relationship that they're trying to build, and this is one of the reasons why it didn't work out, he's trying to be vulnerable and feels unheard, unseen, because he can hear her moving around as he's, like, trying to express all this. And it could be really triggering. He seemed to be like, there was a part of him, I think, that was disappointed, but didn't care enough to, like, to even speak up. I think that's kind of when he realized, like, this isn't the right thing for me. It just made him feel really icky. So
it would have made me feel gross too. I don't like it.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, I have ADHD, and I actually made a note when she was doing that. I was like, this is some kind of shit that I do, is, like, pacing, especially, like, if I'm on the phone with someone listening, like, I'll be moving. But finding ways to stimulate yourself while sitting down and being present is beautiful. And so it's, like, anchoring, like, there's so many different ways where you can do that, and I use them a lot while I'm doing this podcast, because otherwise I would be, like, jumping up and down all the time. But, like, sitting there and, like, playing with the blanket that I have on my lap, like, this is why fidget spinners became a thing. Like, there's ways for you to be able to stimulate but still be grounded and present and listen to another person. And there's medication for this kind of stuff too. I love my Adderall when I need it.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, because it's a very logical and reasonable route to consider. It was the comedic timing of it was pretty funny.
Thanks, girl. Yeah, because it's like I'm prescribed and I reach for it on the days where I know I'm going to need it. You know what I mean? And then on the days where I'm off and I'm like, I can do whatever I want, I don't take it because I don't need to. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, reach for what works for you. Know yourself. If you catch yourself doing that, you know, Raven could have been like, I'm so sorry. Let me I'm sitting here doing this with a thing. And I just, let me let's rewind, pump the brakes. Let me get centered. Okay, I'm here for you. And that's the other thing is like, I will say, this is the last thing I'm going to say about this ADHD thing, but healing trauma requires regulation. ADHD requires regulation because that's quite literally what it is. So it's like, if you're neurodivergent and you're trying to heal trauma, you need to regulate that much more. And this is why I preach this all the time, because it is so important. So it's like, yes, Pilates is wonderful. Was a Pilates instructor myself for 6 years. So there's a lot of me that relates to Raven, but you know, we also need to breath work, mindfulness. How are we training that? How are we pulling into ourselves and centering ourselves instead of just allowing the movement to be what stimulates us? You know what I mean?
Beautiful. Could not say that better. Thank you.
All right. We did it.
We did it. Next week, we're going to cover episodes 3 and 4. We probably see the rest of the engagements. We probably start to see them begin to embark on their honeymoon. So we'll find out.
Honeymoons? What?
Yeah, they do honeymoons. So we'll find out if Andrew proposes to Nancy, and if Nancy says yes or no. We'll see SK and Raven meet. We'll see what happens with Matt and Colleen. And we'll see if Cole continues to love Zenob's boobs. Cannot wait. Can't wait.
Can we do something super fun and random right now?
Yes.
Rapid fire. What is one of the couples we've seen connect already that you think will actually make it, has the potential to make it?
Brennan and Alexa.
Agreed. My only other hope, low-key, is SK and Raven.
Yeah, ditto. I think that they're my only other, I
potential.
I would love, Nancy and Bartice, but, I don't see it, and I don't see it with Nancy and Andrew. So,
and I don't see it with Zaynab and Cole.
No, me neither. No. Nope. No.
Yeah.
No.
All right, cool.
And Colleen and Matt will find out. Bye.
I don't think so.
We have a sign off. Okay. Come follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ditch the Script Pod. Also come to our website. You can ask us questions, or you can apply for a free 30-minute session where we listen to a problem that you might have and talk it out like friends would, but professional friends. And you could go to our website, www.ditchthescriptpod.com. Go to our YouTube and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please take the time, rate a review, at least on Apple. Write a review. Give us 5 stars. Or, reflect the stars in which you feel that we deserve. And send us a review and make it nice. Okay?
Yeah. The end. We love you.
Bye.
See you later.